this computer. Hey everyone, it's Sonya here with Fresh Approach Fitness, a wellness company. Oh, I tripped up on that name again because I've been saying Fresh Approach Fitness for 15 years, but I am segueing over to Fresh Approach Wellness because I offer a lot more than just the fitness component now. You know, it's wellness for every single part of you, mind, body, soul. And speaking of mind, body, soul, you'll notice that today, episode 140 is another heart to heart, which means we have a beautiful guest speaker. We have Arielle with us today, and she's going to be chatting with us. We're going to go back and forth and have this genuine conversation regarding, actually dedicated. Let's dedicate this one. We're going to dedicate this to postpartum women looking to reconnect back with their mind, body, and soul, but wanting to avoid the heaviness of the bounce back culture. Arielle, take it over. Do us a favor and introduce yourself.
Hi, yeah, Sonya, thank you so much for having me. First of all, I have to say I love the shift from fitness to wellness. I speak to a lot that we really can't have wellness without both like the mental component, the emotional, the physical. It's all very interconnected. So I love that. But yes, so thank you for having me. I am a physical therapist and yoga teacher by training and background. And I have recently shifted into being a postpartum wellness coach. Again, bringing in the mental, physical, and emotional transitions of life into motherhood. So now I'm a postpartum wellness coach, helping new moms reconnect mind, body, and soul when you often feel so lost and so disconnected after having a baby from yourself. And really kind of helping them shift back into re-identifying themselves outside of their roles that they previously had. I feel like early on in postpartum, again, with that piece of feeling a bit lost, a bit confused or overwhelmed, we cling so heavily to our identity of who we were, the label of, you know, whether it be your professional role that has kind of paused at least for a moment, your identity as to the physical activities that you perhaps were engaged in before, even, you know, your physical identity of what your body looked like and felt like before. And all of that shifts very dramatically postpartum. So I'm here to give women the confidence that they need to feel really strong in their body and really strong in who they are and who they're becoming.
You know, you've hit on so many great points. So I'm really glad that you're here today because we have an audience. Well, I have an audience that ranges. I know I have some new moms in here. I also know that I have grandmas, such as myself, who have been there, done that. Maybe they suffered from the depression part or the postpartum part, but maybe they didn't. Either way, that identity shift happens. So it honestly, ladies and gentlemen listening to this, okay, gentlemen, this is going to help you understand what your partner is going through. And I say that because you never know who's listening to these podcasts. You know, I learned the other day, and I don't know about you, Arielle, but I listen to them when I'm doing things. Right? Always. So
always
cleaning the kitchen, like whatever, it's kind of like my extra personal development on the weekend. So I'm always doing something. So if a woman is listening to this and her husband hears it and he's like, oh, this isn't for me, pay attention. And I mean this in a good way, because just understanding that she may have no clue hormonally, emotionally, what's going on. The only thing she knows is that she's lost her identity.
Yeah, I would actually encourage, you know, any of the women who are postpartum or expecting to share this episode with their husbands so that they can get that perspective.
Yeah. And it's not, I mean, I joke about this because it's typically women and who are listening to podcasts and up-leveling their lives and chasing their happiness rainbow, if you would. But yet men don't do that. This is not a bash. This is just an observation. And lean in here. Women last. We last about 10 to 20 years longer than most men in society. I wonder why. I wonder if there's a connection.
So many reasons. And perhaps, yes, that self-care piece, they're trying to find a way into that self-care piece. might be part of it.
Just a small part of thinking differently. Now, we all have moments of stress, and talk to me for a minute. You know by now, and for those that are new listening to the show, because I know, Arielle, this is going out to your audience as well, so I know this is going to be expanding. 140 episodes that touch on meals, movement, mindset, your relationship with money, a day in the life of everyday people, coaches, influencers, and the moms, the 9-to-5ers, the entrepreneurs, putting it all together for you in a nice little bow with some personality. So this is going to be on YouTube as well. The link will be on here. But more importantly, two things. I love the fact that we are having a real life experience. You've got your beautiful daughter there, and she's going to be in and out, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, that's what this is all about. This is a safe spot. As long as everybody's on the same page, that opens doors, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. It's life. It's real life. And I think it's really important that moms, especially new moms, see that, that you can see that interaction with your babies as they're starting to get older, and that they can be very much a part of our everyday life. I think we're not so much still in that like kids should be seen and not heard phase, but I feel like there's a piece of it that's still there. And I'd like to kind of break through that a little bit as well, because I think that that's part of the reason that moms can lose themselves a little bit, because, as everything's shifting, our role has shifted, our titles are shifting, how we are seeing ourselves is shifting for us personally, but then also in society as well. And I feel like, especially early on, for so many different reasons, moms feel the need to maybe avoid the things that they enjoyed doing before, whether that's going out to eat with their partner or, what have you, hanging out with some friends, because they feel like, and I say this from experience, you don't want to feel like a burden, and you're like, oh, but if my baby starts crying, am I going to be interrupting the table next to me? But again, like, that's real life. And yes, you don't want your baby to be screaming the entire dinner. We want to like tend to and see what we can do about it, but it's going to happen from time to time. And two things with that, like having time with your partner alone is important. But for me, it felt really, really hard early on to leave my baby for any amount of time. And so we would just start to bring them with us. We enjoyed going out to eat. I love going out to eat. So we would make sure that we would bring our kids with us. And yes, with that comes its own challenges, but it is doable. And I do think it's a way that you can kind of stay connected to yourself. It's just by, whatever you can integrate your kids and your babies into your lifestyle, knowing that there is going to be some changes, and there may have to be some flexibility in what it looks like, but that it's still 100% possible.
I used to take my babies to restaurants too. And my youngest daughter has worked in a restaurant, and she's like, people think, and she has a different outlet as a non-mom, as a restaurant person who used to work there, like a waitress, about whether it's convenient, not convenient, what parents think. But the fact is, what I loved hearing is how you integrate your family into your life. So we're talking about mind, body, spirit a little bit, and you had mentioned something that is really important to me. And I'm going to be very honest to all of our listeners. Most of current listeners know this about me because I'm pretty open, but I've gone through through 2 divorces. So I've repicked myself up twice, which means mentally going into other relationships is, I'm lucky I've got a great guy now, but I can tell you there was some inner dialogue that wasn't serving me based on my past experience. And this happens when we have scenarios that don't align with the person that we are. So where I'm going at with this is what Tony and I do right now. Every night we have date night. Every single night at 9:30, we meet on the couch and we watch a show from a series that we picked out together. So in my first 2 marriages, we didn't go out. We didn't do things. We didn't hang out together. And this is why I'm bringing it up, because as a unit, this is one of the things that can save your marriage and help you be a person. Yeah. So what do you guys do?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, well, we're having a date tonight, but so my kids are a little bit older now. I'm not, you know, whether or not you consider yourself postpartum, I think there's a really big range there. But my baby is almost a year and a half, so they are a little bit older. And now that they are moving towards being a little bit older, we do date night maybe once a month, where we're like going out. But we do make sure that we are taking time to connect with each other throughout the week. Dinner is always a big, family dinner is a big component to our family life. And we take that time to sit down together, devices away, TVs off, and we just have that time to connect where we're asking each other about our days and really listening to the other person. But early on, I can tell you that it is a huge struggle. It was a big struggle for us. I had, postpartum depression and also postpartum rage with my daughter. Hindsight, looking back, I probably had a little bit of the postpartum depression with my son. I wasn't as in tune to it then, and it, I would say, resolved a little bit quicker than with my daughter, and I think that's for a multitude of reasons. But sorry, where I was going with that is, early on, especially if you're having any of that depression or that rage, it's really easy to take that out on your partner who is there. It doesn't matter what they're doing, if they're being supportive or not. You may not see it that way, and that's where a huge piece of it comes back to really understanding yourself first, reconnecting with yourself first. That way you have more clarity on what your needs are. Are they being met or are they not being met? And then being able to communicate that. And again, I say this, I have, but he was very supportive throughout that process. But when you're in it, it doesn't necessarily matter. And they could be wanting to resume date nights earlier with going out to eat, on a weekly basis or a more regular basis. But depending on where you're at, like for me early on, that was the furthest thing from my mind. I didn't want to be separated from my babies at all. And I think that's really normal and natural. And if it feels uncomfortable to you, I don't think that you have to do that. But that doesn't mean that there aren't other ways that you can find that connection piece with your partner, as long as, one, you're digging into what your needs are first, so that you can be clear about your needs, your expectations. And for me, one of those needs was staying with my kids early on. And then finding out, creative ways to make that happen. So sometimes if bedtime worked out really great, which doesn't always happen, and they both go down easily, is just, having takeout after bedtime as opposed to eating all together with the kids, where we usually do it together as a family. But there was the occasional nights where we would sit down with sushi and some wine after bed. And my little ones aren't great sleepers, especially early on. So they would do what we call a false start, like a half hour, 45 minutes in, they'd wake up and we would just, go tend to them and then come back and enjoy our dinner. And so I think it comes down to a lot of times like what your expectations are and being flexible with how things are going to look. But again, as long as you're in tune to what your needs are early on and communicating that and listening to, what your partner's needs are as well, because when you have a baby, there are multiple people in the relationship now. And just because they're not going through the hard stuff that you are doesn't mean that they're not having some changes and some adjustments as well.
Of course. I mean, you've touched on so many good things there. Like, and again, I want to reiterate something for everybody listening to this. A lot of this conversation might be around postpartum, but it doesn't make a difference if you're going through menopause or perimenopause. It's the same hormonal feeling. So it's the overload of emotion at the end of the day that you're trying to balance, and you're trying to fit in the things that bring you happiness and joy but you're overcome with emotion. So a lot of what we're and you wouldn't be able to relate to this yet, but as I will be 50 in July, I am relating to this. So I can tell you after having the kids, it's not much different. You still get surprised. So yeah,
well, yeah, I mean, your estrogen plummets
right?
postpartum right away, and it does the same thing again in menopause. That estrogen really drops down, which has tremendous effects on not only your mood, but your body physically, which can affect things on an intimate level as well. And so that brings you with choices of like, do I just resign myself to this is life now? Or is that intimacy important to me, like partner aside? Because I feel like in our culture, if we're talking about intimacy and having, you know, a sexual relationship with our partner, it's for the partner in a heterosexual relationship for the man, when it can also and should also be for us. Like there's no reason that that's not an important component to a relationship for women, new mothers, or women going through menopause.
Yeah, or anybody in between, really.
Absolutely.
We're talking about the two extremes, but ladies, gentlemen, when your woman is going through her cycle, it's tidbits of these exact same feelings that we're talking about, because our hormones are going through that. So a couple of important things that you brought up. Date night, you talked about, you guys do it often. Would that be the biggest piece of advice that you have for any new mothers when it comes to relationships?
When it comes, so I think I feel like so many things play into it. For me personally, a big piece of it was my self-image and how am I viewing myself. My body image changed. And so inadvertently, I kind of reflect that onto my husband, because if I'm not feeling good about myself and my body, and I know that it's temporary, this is what I do. And as you know, from my background and all of that, like, I know that it's a temporary phase. It doesn't mean that I am loving that phase of how my body looks and feels postpartum. But if I'm not feeling good in my skin, I'm automatically thinking, well, he thinks that too, clearly, and that's not necessarily the case, right? And at that point, he probably doesn't even care. So.
No, he doesn't, and that's the thing. They tend to love us sometimes more than we love. If you've got a good man, and again, we're talking heterosexual relationships here. So if you're in a homosexual type relationship, same thing. If you have a good woman in your life, a good partner, whatever it looks like, they're going to love you through those dark days. But when you don't love yourself through those dark days, that shows up in your confidence. Huge.
Oh, so much.
So, yeah. And then it has such an impact on your mind, body, and soul, because you start to believe that is true. So it's very ironic. So we're going to go back to what we were talking about off camera for just a second. And I was complimenting Arielle on her shirt, thinking I had a similar one, and saying that I kind of look like she did an hour ago because I was on the spin bike, and then I did a little bit of a workout, only like 5 minutes of weights and resistance training. But here's the thing. I did a post, which is up on my YouTube channel, and I was literally talking about, when no one's around, what do you do? Do you wear just a sports bra and workout pants? Or do you cover yourself up so you don't even look at your own beauty?
Yeah.
And like, no one's home. And I did this post just in a sports bra. And guys, I am an average woman. And I'm, okay, not really average, but I mean average body shape. I am a triathlete. I was teaching 23 fitness classes a week pre-COVID. I had an injury with my ankles, both of them. Bilateral Achilles tendinopathy. I was in physio for 4 years. And I know you get it because I saw your pain.
Yeah, that's tough.
I was barely walking. So you're talking to somebody with medals on the wall who could barely walk for 4 years throughout COVID, not just the mental mindset of closing my business, picking myself back up, reinventing and redoing things. And that's the same thing with divorces, guys. That's the same thing with switching from job to job. You're rebuilding over and over and over again. And sometimes these things are not in your control. But here's where I'm going with it. To have people watch somebody like me, like a wellness coach, and not wonder why I'm not a size 2, You don't need to be. And that's what that post was all about. You don't need to be perfect size 2, 3, 4, whatever it looks like. You need to start to be confident in the body that you're in right now.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. And it's so true postpartum because,
Yes.
and this is why, I feel like bounce back culture is so damaging to new mothers, is because it sets these expectations up that we're not going to meet. And if you are able to meet them, chances are you're not doing it in a very healthy way. Something's going to take the hit, whether it's your, physically your body taking a hit from trying to bounce back too soon, or that mental emotional piece is affected by it because you're trying to meet these expectations that are, again, just they're unrealistic. Like generally it takes 6 to 12 months to really get back towards your pre-baby body, but that doesn't mean that you can't start feeling good in your body right now as it is in, whether you're 1 week postpartum and you still feel pregnant plus everything else that's going on, or you're 3 to 4 months postpartum and you're thinking by now I should be, able to do X, Y, and Z physically, or I should be looking a certain way or fitting back into my like pre-baby jeans. Maybe they'll be snug, but I should be in them. And that's not always the case. But again, that is no reason to not feel good in your body. And we can sit here and say like, oh, your body has done such amazing things. And it's true, like growing a baby, delivering a baby, that's all amazing.
Yeah.
But when you're in it and there's like this huge pressure, and whether you're like consciously or subconsciously taking it in, like bounce back culture is all around us. So it is hard to fight the noise. And that's where really working on that mental and emotional piece of it comes in, while still working on the physical aspect. Because I think like two things can be true. You can be happy and comfortable in your body how it is, and you can be taking care of your body. It's not, and a one or the other. And I feel like for me, initially, I was kind of caught in this battle with myself of like wanting to get back to, so I've only done one try. I do have aspirations to get back to them eventually, but I'm a distance endurance athlete. I've done several open water, distance swims of a mile or more, and several marathons and ultra marathons. I want to get back to those things eventually, but I know that, returning to running postpartum takes time, that you should start at like, 12 weeks at a minimum, like not 6 weeks. But it doesn't mean, so it doesn't mean like I have to either be back in that state or just accept my body for what it is and not try to have those aspirations at all. Like you can do both. And I think that if we allow ourselves to heal first postpartum, and that's healing physically and mentally, emotionally, then we can move through. So like healing and then recovering, as you're talking about your tendinopathies, you have to let it heal first, then you have to do the rehab, and then you can get back to doing what you're doing. And for some reason, we just think that birth, even though we talk about it doing, our body is doing this amazing thing, that it's different. And you can talk to any athlete, yourself included, that not only is there that physical piece of the recovery, but there's that like mental piece as well of like, this is my identity, this is my stress relief, this is what I enjoy, like all of those things. And you're having to sit in this waiting period. And so I think it's no different postpartum versus, any type of injury or, recovery process.
And I love what you're saying there, because so much of that is true. Do I know, I'm coming from, and even someone like you with postpartum, but an athlete as well, coming from the perspective of, what you're capable of. Your times, you can run half a marathon or a marathon, what you are capable of, but you need to redirect that story now as if you're starting from scratch with no expectations. That is different than encouraging somebody to do their best, because now you're worried about, well, I can tell you what you're worried about. You're worried about peeing your pants. You're worried about getting your pacing. You're worried about having to go to the bathroom, like you're worried about all of these things, but all you want to do is run or move your body. Like we're saying running because there's a different vibe when it comes to running. And again, for those that are new to this episode, I want to thank you for listening, but we are so real. Literally, it's like two friends having coffee and just chatting. So we didn't plan to talk about running at all. We don't plan to talk about any of these things. You know, there's 4 pillars I talk about: meals, movement, mindset, and your relationship with money. And even when I'm interviewing guests, I will bring these up in the last 5 minutes if they're not talked about. So they come up, but we didn't plan this. So for us to both be sitting here at 2 different stages of our life and sharing that there is a huge mental piece that comes with recovery, that comes with healing. And it doesn't matter what that healing is. Give yourself space for that, because there's been a lot that you've accumulated and you have grown through. I like to say to my clients, and I love to hear your input on this, but the slower it comes off, the longer it stays off. So slow and steady sets the pace, which is completely in alignment with your lack of bounce back culture.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I always tell people, if you have weight loss goals, I get that. Like, I understand that. That's not what I do as a postpartum coach, because I'm working with you in your postpartum phase. And I think that there's a time and a place for that. But again, it's after that recovery piece and kind of resetting and reframing and knowing why is that your goal. And it could be for many different things. It could be, you know, you've had a physician talk to you numerous times, and you're more likely to be getting, or you're pre-diabetic and you're switching over from pre-diabetic to diabetic and they want you to lose weight for that reason. It could be because you felt better, 15 pounds lighter, as long as that 15 pounds lighter wasn't like a completely different life stage ago, meaning, because our bodies change and that's okay.
Yes.
You're not going to be your prepubescent weight. You're not going to be your pre-baby weight necessarily. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. And premenopause, like those are all different stages. And I think just, again, allowing our bodies to change a little bit is okay. So it's knowing where your goals are coming from and digging into the whys behind them, and whatever your reasons are valid as long as they're yours. And if you feel like your reasons are coming from something else, like societal pressures, or I guess the main outside of us would be that societal pressure. So it's really kind of digging into that and seeing like, where is your goal coming from? But yeah, to your point, slow and steady absolutely does win the race, so to speak. I mean, from personal experience, talking about running, I am not fast. I am slow and steady, but I can do, 32 miles, 50 miles. That's been my longest so far.
Just so you know, I'm in Canada. You're in the States, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So what state are you in?
So currently I'm in Florida. Generally, okay. I'm in Massachusetts. Yeah.
Okay. And I'm in Ontario, Canada. So we all know miles is a lot more than kilometers. Just saying.
Yeah. So 50K, 50 kilometers is 32 miles. So
I had it reversed.
50 miles is 70 something K, but yeah.
it can be an overwhelming number. And there was something that you had said there. We're talking about weight, and we're talking, like you were talking about weight for a second. Keep in mind, as your body evolves and you grow through that postpartum stage, you might weigh the same, but your body shape might change. And that's for the better. Like, I can tell you, I have coached so many women physically, and their body shape changed, and they were still obsessed with the scale, but you could see their muscles and you can see their definition, and you can see that they're down a couple sizes in their jeans, or their wedding ring fits again and they've got tears. It's not about that number on the scale. And I can't emphasize that enough.
Yeah. For me, my wedding rings, I was a year postpartum with my daughter, and we were going out to eat for our anniversary. And that was the first day I was able to put my rings back on. And it meant the world to me. Like, it was such a small gesture, but it just made me feel like so good. The timing was perfect, even though of course I wish it would have been sooner. but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Your body composition is, I mean, me personally, I don't even really know the last time I've been on a scale. Maybe my last like 6-week appointment was so like a year and a year and a half ago, essentially. For me, it's just not a tool that I use. I know for some people it can be really helpful. And so I'm not saying like not to do that. I think
Mhm.
everybody's different. But my biggest focus for me personally, and what I try to instill, especially in that postpartum period, is really about how you feel in your body and starting to be really in tune to that. So I'm looking like externally on what you're able to do. Like, are you able to now get up and down off the floor while holding your baby, which was something that you weren't able to do before, or you had to like crawl over to the couch and kind of hoist yourself up because your core was so weak and your back was aching because your disconnection from your pelvic floor and inner core, like nothing was firing in synchronicity with each other. And so you're in pain and you're just not moving well. And now you're able to do that. And, again, just back to how your body feels. And I feel like that, are you feeling good where you have more energy and you're not just this, just absolutely exhausted? Another piece that something that we normalize in motherhood and early motherhood is just, oh, we're just always going to feel exhausted. Yes, you may be tired. You're going to have days where you're more tired than others, but you shouldn't be feeling exhausted like endlessly, like no end in sight of when that exhaustion is going to lift. That means that you need to start to just look at things like, what are you doing and what tweaks can we make so that we can, yes, your baby sleep is what it is, but how can you still feel a little bit more energized in your day, and start to feel better in your body, good in your body? And again, that bringing in that mind body connection, when you're starting to feel better in your body, you're starting to feel better in your mind as well, and vice versa. And I think the other piece to that is, as you get more in tune to your body, as you start to heal and rebuild and do exercises from more of a like therapeutic place as opposed to a beating yourself up place, and you're actually paying attention to your body, then you're able to pay attention to your body in all situations more. So you're able to pick up on those cues of like, I'm getting really like angsty right now. You're tuning into it more quicker before you lose it. So you're able to kind of check yourself, go through, your list in your head of like, what's going on. Hold on, Torin, no squeaking, please.
We interrupt this for a real life moment.
Sorry.
No, don't be.
So I think, I think that it's, again, wellness as a whole. Like, you can't look at mental wellness and then physical wellness. You really have to, in my opinion, we really have to start looking at them together if we want to make longer lasting changes. And if we want to, to really have wellness as a whole, because
holistic wellness
as a whole. Yes. Because
they
can't, in my opinion, they cannot be separated for, the reasons that we've mentioned and so many others.
And I know this is just a tidbit that we've been sharing today. This is just a little bit of what you offer, a little bit of my perspective. You can see the similarities between us. I want to ask you, can you give us some tips to help postpartum women feel good in mind, body, and spirit, and mind, body, and their soul as they're avoiding the bounce back culture? 3 to 5 tips that you could share. Now I'm putting you on the spot, but that's okay. the biggest thing that you would have them look at.
Absolutely. So basic needs first. So and kind of to your points of the meal piece and the movement piece. So start there. Make sure that you are nourished. So think about nourishing yourself as opposed to feeding yourself or diet, and think about really nourishing your body. Especially true if you're breastfeeding. To make sure you're eating enough throughout the day. Early on postpartum, I don't think that it's helpful to start thinking about cutting calories, again, especially if you're breastfeeding, because on average, you should be eating 500 to 700 additional calories Again, some days maybe last closer to 300. Some, you may have multiple days in a row of 700. All going to depend on, what your activity level is that day, how much sleep or little sleep you've gotten, so many different factors. And because of that, because there's all this fluctuation, you can't say, okay, well, you want to lose weight, so we're going to cut your calories here, but you're breastfeeding, so we're just going to tack on an additional 500. Like, it doesn't necessarily work like that. So tip one is just make sure you're nourishing yourself. So for me, early on, I would have, granola bars or pretzels, bananas, pieces of fruit available throughout the house. So like, I'd have something at my bedside table. If I had a really, a night where I was up all the time, like have a banana at your bedside that you can, snack on something during the night if you're feeling hungry and you're, instead of sleeping during the night, you're up that entire night. Your body's going to need that fuel because you're not in that, consistent rest stage. And then with the meals piece is also staying hydrated. So again, just really starting with the basics. Again, if you're breastfeeding, so generally adult women, it's around 11 cups, which I think is right around 3 liters. When you're breastfeeding, it's closer to 4 liters, and I think like 16 or 16 and a half cups of water a day. So again, I'm sorry, Torin, can you let them out? So it's having water. Again, for me, I had it scattered throughout the house, and I always had a water bottle handy. So I had one at my bedside table. I had one where I would generally sit and breastfeed, or if you're bottle feeding and on a couch or in a specific chair, like have that water bottle there and ready for you. That way you don't have to get up and do yet another task for yourself. So starting with those basics.
And I want to, before you go on, I want to just chime in here for 1 second, because I know we're going to wrap this up with after these tips, but I just want to say, menopausal women, perimenopausal women, women that are going through their cycle, I want to recommend a tip based on the water. Have a glass, have a bottle of water with you by your bed. And either drink it throughout the night if you're going to the bathroom, like don't gulp it, have a couple of sips here and there, because and this is the same thing with postpartum, as you are sweating, you are becoming dehydrated. So you are waking up in the morning soaking wet with sweat, whatever it looks like. But when you get to that point, and it does happen throughout pregnancy as well, drink that water first thing. Your body's dehydrated, and that makes a big, big, big difference.
Yeah, I still start my day with a full, it's probably a 16 or 20 ounce water bottle that I have. And I drink that first as I'm pouring my coffee. So before I have my coffee, I have a giant thing of water. I don't know, for me, I guess I would say I'm lucky in this aspect, like water is primarily the thing that I drink. I know some people struggle with it so much. I struggle to understand that piece of it. I mean, I get it a little bit, I guess, but I'm again, like I said, I'm lucky that I just enjoy water. It's just what I drink mostly. So
there's different ways of mixing that up, because like Florida is a completely different climate than Ontario.
Yes.
Right. So for me to say, okay, drink half your body weight in water. Well, when it's negative 30 degrees out or negative 4 degrees out, like it's negative 6 Celsius right now, which is equivalent to 20 Fahrenheit. I've got 2 different computers with Celsius and Fahrenheit. So that's hard to be drinking cold water, right? So have a herbal tea.
Yeah.
And so mix
it
and
if you, to your point, if you leave it out overnight, it's going to be room temp, which I think is easier to take down first thing in the morning anyway. So
So what other tips do you have for us?
So for me, what was extremely helpful with starting to connect that mind body piece, I'm sorry, I have to step away just for a second.
That's okay.
Amara, no.
That's okay. So I love how this is live. I really, really do, because you're seeing us in real moments, dealing with real life situations.
Yeah, our house is a zoo. 2 kids, 3, 1.5, 2 dogs. One is a puppy and a cat, and it's wild.
And it doesn't get any better, because I am in a blended relationship. We've got 5 kids. I have a grandson. We have my parents who are in their late 70s. So just because you get older, it doesn't look any less complicated. It's just we're keeping it real. And here's the disadvantage to moms my age: kids don't leave, because there's nowhere for them to go right now. So we have a 31-year-old and a 21-year-old living at home still. And as much as we love them, we're not getting that alone time, which makes
Yeah,
some of it more important. So
my sister's kids are older. My older sister's kids are older, and she had a weekend. My nephew's in college. My niece was away for like a school trip. She's like, we've had no kids in the house for a weekend, and it's wild. But I think she's secretly hoping, at least for the moment, that he maybe returns for like a year after college. But we shall see.
Yeah. All right, give us a couple more tips.
Yeah. So journaling is a huge one for me, and it can seem, if you're not a writer, if it wasn't part of your practice before, it can seem overwhelming. But you don't have to, again, trying to let go of your expectations and what it looks like. It doesn't have to be first thing in the morning before your kids wake up with the candle lit and your tea and like you have this beautiful like quiet time to yourself. I mean, maybe this is fantasy for me. I'm like, oh, that sounds so lovely.
I'm just thinking it could be at night with a bottle of wine in the bathtub, sitting behind the door in the bathroom. It can look different.
Yes. Yeah. Generally for me right now, it's standing at my counter while I'm drinking my coffee and just jotting down my thoughts. I like to do at least like one thing that I'm grateful for. I think a gratitude practice is really helpful. It can seem really daunting right away if you're feeling a lot of postpartum depression or anxiety or postpartum rage or any of those things. But I would challenge you to maybe just try it a little bit. I know in those early stages, it can feel really tough because you're feeling so just like low and down. So, start with the simple things. Start with the things that are outside of yourself, and then kind of take it from there. Even if it's something as simple as like, if you have other kids and maybe they had a snow day or a delay and it gives you like an extra hour to get yourself together in the morning, you can be thankful for that. So take away your expectations, but start to just write things down, write what you're feeling and, the good and the bad. So I like to do at least one thing that I'm grateful for and then just, free write. Sometimes I use prompts, and go from there. So journaling, hydration, and nourishing your body, so making sure that you're eating enough, and then really taking the time to heal your pelvic floor and your inner core before you start jumping into any type of exercise program. So that whether that's working with a postpartum coach who has a really solid understanding of what you need to do to heal and recover your pelvic floor, whether it's working with the physical therapist directly initially, whatever it is, I do think that that's a very important piece, especially very early on, because it might be so early on that you're not necessarily noticing any problems arising. But I think if we kind of address it earlier, the chances of problems arising are less. And as you were mentioning before, of like getting back into running and all the thoughts in your head, and one of them is, am I going to have to go to the bathroom, whether it be like urinary urgency, frequency, like, oh my gosh, I have to go again, or whether it's actual leakage. It's common, it's not normal, and there are things you can do about it. And if you really allow yourself to heal prior to getting back to running, your chances of that happening are way less.
And I'm gonna, I was gonna say, I'm gonna tack on that, because at this point, like, so we're talking about the two extremes here, but at this point, laughing, crying, sneezing is an onset of like, I gotta change my pants. And sometimes you're in the wrong place to do that. And I'm saying this with openness because I want everyone listening to know that you don't feel alone, but this is a symptom of your body communicating with you that you should get some work done. And it can be, honestly, if you're in the realm of health and fitness, it can be as simple as like even Pilates, because you are strengthening your powerhouse, which is going to give you your pelvic floor straightening. But there are antibiotics, or not antibiotics, probiotics. There's the mindset work, and then there's deeper work that needs to be done, which is what you're offering right now to your clients as well.
Yeah, and to that point too, a lot of times we also need to relax our pelvic floor a little bit first. And so Pilates does a little bit of like the lengthening as well, but we don't want to just keep tightening, keep tightening, keep tightening. A lot of times we also need to work on relaxing the muscle, easing muscle tension, and think about lengthening the muscle so that you can strengthen it properly. I like to,
And it heals.
give it heals. Yeah. The example of, or you can, back to, usually I'm like a bicep because that's really easy to see, but with your ankles, if you don't work some of that muscle length and getting that flexibility back, and then all of a sudden, your ankle range is a lot less as opposed to being able to really go up and down on your toes, then this is where you're able to strengthen is just in this range, and you're not getting that full muscle capacity. So you're not going to be able to strengthen as well. You're not going to have that push off for running is not going to be what it was if you don't ever get that length back. So it's really important to get that proper length tension relationship first in recovery, pretty much always before you start really strengthening. And you can do some of it together in tandem, as long as you're not forgetting that piece. And I think with the bounce back culture, we just kind of skip over that altogether. I mean, talk to anyone who's done any kind of workout and then ask them if they do any stretching or anything, and it's a groan. You get a groan. It's the less glamorous piece of it.
But it's not. It's actually one of the most enjoyable pieces of it because you slow down.
I think.
Okay, you said something that I want to expand on, and I know I had promised, this is my daughter this time with my grandson, but I will send her to voicemail. So one thing to keep in mind, even when it comes to the pelvic floor, and we were talking about my ankles as an example, but because it's easier to see, something like a bicep or something external is easier to witness and to see. You see the swelling, you see the inflammation, you see the lack of blood flow, you feel the impact a little bit differently. Especially after you've had babies, you just think the leakage is just normal. Or as you age, you think it's normal. Like you said, it's common, but it doesn't have to happen. So it's not just a matter of strengthening, stretching, lengthening that particular zone. It's all connected. It's all kinetically connected. Yeah. So like a lot of my ankle work boiled down to my hips and my back. Because our whole kinetic chain is connected. So you're not isolating change. You're not isolating one particular area. You want to work on your back for that. You want to work on your core for that. You want to work on your inner thighs and your powerhouse. You want to build strength in other areas of your body to help pull you through as you're working on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, the exercise program that I have is very therapeutically based, but it is also whole body based as well, for that reason. And to that piece that then goes on to then the mental emotional component, because we are all connected. But a big piece of the pelvic floor, especially early on, for finding it, because if you are not familiar with finding it, because it's not something that unless you do the work and you are very much aware of it, it's not something that's front of mind, because it is internal. But when you're connecting to it again for the first time, a big piece of that is with the breath, and that may seem
I was just going to say that
not connected at all, and disjointed, but it's a huge piece to it. And then that would kind of bring me back to one of my other main points is really focusing on your breath, on getting deep full breaths, using your full lung capacity, which then brings you into a calmer state. So again, there's that mind body piece of it. When you're really using your diaphragm, you're kind of stimulating your vagus nerve a little bit more. But you want to think about also not just that belly breathing, that front back breathing, but also, forward and back breathing, but also breathing out into your rib cage laterally and breathing out into your back body as well. So that you're really, again, using your full diaphragm that really engages your full pelvic floor, because we are all connected. It is all connected.
I couldn't agree more. We today have touched on indirectly meals, movement, mindset. The one thing we did not touch on yet is your relationship with money, which I like to paraphrase as AKA your levels of stress. Most people, when it comes to money, that is their ultimate stressor, which impacts other areas of their life.
Mhm.
So what would your takeaway be on that component?
Yeah, sure. I would say the more that, so it's tricky postpartum because you're generally taking some time off, and you know I am trying to encourage women to take that time off. I know that it's kind of a privilege to have that choice, not that it's a privilege to stay home for any length of time, but really the privilege is in the choosing of, am I going to work, am I staying home, is it some type of hybrid? But if you're able to give yourself more of that length of time, I think that it's really helpful, for you and your baby connection, but for yourself, to allow for all of that healing that needs to happen, the physical, the mental, emotional. And while it may seem like it's a burden for you financially, I'm going to offer that you just kind of switch your perspective on it a little bit, for two reasons. Like, one, childcare is expensive, especially in the States. It is not a small fee by any means. So, think of your time staying home as, making, if you need to frame it in that, making that salary of whatever that childcare would be, that's what you're bringing in, because that's what you're saving your family. Now, granted, if you have a job that makes more than that, you may have a harder time kind of sitting with that reframe. But I challenge you to think of it in that way, at least initially. But then also, if you are taking that time, and whether it's the 3 months or 6 months or your whatever time you allot for yourself, and you allow yourself to really heal and feel really confident in who you are, your values, what you want, you feel good in your body. When you do return to work, you're likely going to be able to do it at a higher level, because you're not burdened with all of the extra weight of that mom guilt or shame that's like weighing you down, because you feel solid. Like, I am making this decision because it's aligns with my values. It's who I am. It's right for my family. And you can say that confidently. And that frees up so much headspace, which then takes away so much of that exhaustion. So when you're at work, you're able to, give it your all. You're able to come back home and be more present there. And I think, being present in what you do is a huge, huge piece to it. So while you might take a hit initially, I think in the long run, in the long term, you're setting yourself up for more success financially, because you're coming back into the workforce, if that's your path that you're choosing, at a higher level of yourself. And that's only going to kind of up that game.
Perfect. I love that share. And on that note, I know that you have a special offer for everybody listening to this. Can you take a few minutes and talk to us about that?
Yeah, of course. So I have created the Postpartum Revolution, and it's, my goal is to really revolutionize the way that we are caring for the mother postpartum, and really kind of push out of that bounce back culture, really allow yourself to reconnect mind, body, soul, to heal, recover, and move forward. And we do that with my signature framework of identifying where you are mentally, emotionally, physically, what's going on in all of those areas. Really integrating mind, body, soul, kind of working all that together, and then igniting and really kind of uplifting yourself into the direction that you want to go, knowing that you're fully aligned in your values, that you feel really strong and confident in your body, whatever phase your body is in at that time. So it is an 8-week group coaching program with an additional bonus 4 weeks of coaching, because mom life, right?
Mom life.
You may have to you may be held up at a certain stage for a little bit, and I don't want you to feel like you're missing out on something or going to be left behind, because you are not. There's a big community component to it, because community in motherhood and sisterhood, I think, is so important, to not feel like you're alone, because postpartum can feel so isolating. So it's 8 weeks. You're going to come out of it feeling strong, feeling confident, having a solid foundation, not only physically to go on and do your next level activity, get back to what you want to do, but also mentally and emotionally being confident in yourself, so that you can really parent confidently the way that you want, without the mom guilt, without the self-doubt, without all the shame, and so that you can partner passionately and and stay really connected to your partner in a way that feels good for you, because again, it comes back to you. So we're like, yes, for them, it's a byproduct. A partnership is always a byproduct of two people. But for you first, and being confident and comfortable in that. So it is open. And for anyone who is listening, because you're listening to Sonya and she's lovely, and I want to thank you for listening to this episode, I do have a 10% coupon code for you. So it will be, I just want to make sure that I get it right, Sonya Pod Mama. And that will be in the show notes. So
yeah, it will be in the show notes and anybody can apply it. Arielle, I want to thank you for being a guest on today's show. We had so much to talk about. For those that are listening, all of my episodes are
like
not this long.
For another hour.
And
my
that's
kids may not allow it, but I could have talked for an hour longer.
That's what I love about the allergy and these organic conversations. Many times I don't sit there and vet and interview a lot of people. I feel their energy and I'm like, let's do it, because my audience needs this. Your audience needs this. And I was at a networking event. We're just going to close with this here. I was at a networking event the other day and there was a lady talking, and she's 25 and she has 3 kids and she's a single mom, and she was talking about her business. And I said to her, I said, why don't we sit down and have a coffee chat? I said, because I had mentioned that I have a grandson, but you have no idea that my daughter is 25 years old and is completely going through what you're going through. So you just don't know where this is going to land. You don't know how this is going to inspire somebody. And please, like, comment, share, go ahead. This is going to be on YouTube. So there will be a YouTube link where you can catch the video. If you're listening to the audio, it will be in the show notes as well. Or you can pop over to my YouTube channel. It's in my link tree. You can always Google Sonya Janisse on YouTube or Fresh Approach Fitness. If you are lost, definitely message me and I will get you the YouTube link. Arielle's going to have the YouTube link as well. She's going to be cross-posting this to her platforms. And my link tree will be here. Her promo code will be here, as well as her description. I am sending you so much love and hug today, guys. Make it a fantastic day. And Arielle, do you have anything to say before we chime off?
No, just thank you so much. This has been absolutely wonderful. And to your point, absolutely share. If you are not postpartum at the moment, share with a mama in your life or an expecting mom in your life, because I think, the more that we are prepared for life postpartum, the better off that we are. So yes, absolutely share with your partners, because they need to know what it's like. It may kind of start to encourage that open dialogue between the two of you, which is absolutely needed. But yeah, it's all about connection and building community, especially in motherhood. I think it's something that we very much need. So absolutely, please do share with the moms in your life.
And I want to say, it's more so than that. Everything that you just said, it's about feeling connected, because nobody wants to feel alone. And when you are postpartum, when you do have the baby, when you're going through any change, it's easy to feel isolated and that you're the only one going through it. And if we can help you feel like you are connected, even if it's just to us, we've done our job.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, sending you so much love and joy. Thank you so much for listening, everybody, and stay tuned for more of these wonderful episodes.
Bye.